As most of you probably know, Alex O'Connor, Cosmic Skeptic, just dropped a video about the community post that he made like 4 weeks ago about him not being vegan anymore, or like not being convinced of the healthfulness of the plant-based diet and the practicability, as well as the appropriateness of an individual boycott. And he said several things, and people were like, okay, what? So in this video that he uploaded today, he elaborated on that. I have some thoughts on it, so we're gonna get into it.
As you can imagine, the past couple of weeks have not been particularly easy for me, but of course this is something that I expected. When I made my community post announcement about consuming animal products, I expected that there would be a great deal of sadness and disappointment and hatred and anger and all of these kinds of things.
I think one thing that he didn't expect is the amount of confusion that he created through that post, because he was so vague about everything. Like, he was struggling with his health. Like, what health issues do you have, Alex? Maybe bring that up. Maybe be a little bit more specific. And there are some things in this video that contradict what he said in the community post, or at least like what people interpreted it to mean, which I'm also going to get into.
I want to explain some of the problems that I was facing in maintaining a healthy plant-based diet, but I want to clarify that shouldn't be informing your position on the viability of a plant-based diet for yourself. A lot of people have been sending me studies, in particular the American Dietetic Association study that being vegan is healthy at all stages of life, including pregnancy, as if this is new information to me.
That's what I suspected, honestly, because in his community post, he said like that he was like increasingly doubtful of the healthfulness or the practicability of plant-based diets. And he didn't mention, like, he did mention that he struggled with it personally, but he didn't specify in that sentence that he didn't mean generally, he just meant for himself, right, in his situation, which I thought would have been very useful to add, because people have been, of course, trying to convince him once again of like the general healthfulness of plant-based diets. But now he's clearly stating that, no, I do believe that it's healthy for most people, but I struggled with it, which is a different thing. And I just think what he said previously sounded a bit misleading. I don't know if he personally realized that, but it's good that he's clearing that up at least.
I just want to talk to you about some of the reasons why I found it very difficult to maintain a healthy plant-based diet. I also want to clarify that I really don't know what my diet's going to look like going forwards. I don't know if I'll continue to eat these foods or whether I'll be able to abandon them again in the future. I really don't know. So I'm not trying to do an ex-vegan, anti-vegan thing. I'm not trying to come out and say, veganism did this to me, I had a horrible experience, and this is why you shouldn't be vegan. Like, I still want to encourage people to be vegan. I still want to encourage people, of course, to care about animal suffering and to help bring about the end of factory farming.
Hold up. Stop. Give me a second. Positive. He's not coming out as ex-vegan or anti-vegan. I mean, he is technically an ex-vegan. I think somewhere in his heart, he still believes in animal liberation. Like, it's not that he doesn't believe in veganism. Like, he's got the theoretical aspect pretty much down. I mean, except for the problematic welfarist streak that he has, because he's a utilitarian, and he keeps talking about his opposition to factory farming. And I'm like, everyone's against factory farming. Like, sure, you can say you're against it, but you're contributing to it, so it doesn't mean anything. What gives me most hope is he's not labeling himself as an ex-vegan. He's not labeling the situation as I left veganism, because I think he still believes it. He's just really struggling with it on a practical level because he's not very educated on nutrition or how to fill in his own diet correctly, or like do something that works for him. And we'll get on to that in a second, because it turns out that he has IBS.
For most of my life, I've had a particular set of health issues, just like most people have some health issues that I must stress are unrelated to veganism. They're not caused.
I want to stress how he says that most people have health issues. Like, he's not seeing himself as different from other people. Like, I can't be vegan because I'm too different from the normal person. Like, I think he does acknowledge that he's not special. There are vegans that have IBS. There are vegans that manage to handle it. He's just not trying hard enough. He thinks it's too inconvenient, and that's why he's gone back to eating animals. But it doesn't matter necessarily how inconvenient being vegan is for you, because it's still more inconvenient for the animals to be slaughtered and to be guessed, you know? It's not even close. It's not even fucking close. I don't think he has ill intent, but he's definitely placing himself as a victim in this, presenting himself as a victim in a situation in which he's not a victim. Following a plant-based diet might be harder for some people than others, but the inconvenience that you have, or the health issues, or having to go to the bathroom like 10 times a day, like that still does not outweigh the suffering and the rights violations that animals go through every single day. It's still not acceptable, and it's still not a justification for going back to eating animals, and I didn't expect him to have one. It's interesting to hear more about his situation. I do think it clears up some things, but it does not justify anything.
For instance, one of the most important or relevant here is IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, which people have to varying degrees. I've suffered with it quite severely for most of my life. It's not been as bad as I've been getting older. This was livable. That is an important thing to stress. It's not like the pain that I experience when I suffer from these symptoms is completely and utterly debilitating.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, Alex. You're saying it right now. It's livable. It's livable, and it's not caused by veganism. I think you've just debunked yourself. His IBS was not caused by veganism. He acknowledges that. He had it before. It was just as bad. I assume, I don't know a lot about IBS. I know there are vegans with IBS, and they'll have more authority to speak on this than I do, but it's perfectly possible. It's mostly just a matter of effort. One of the things that kind of trigger IBS, I think, is fiber, soluble fiber, which is found a lot in like vegetables, plants, and stuff, and is therefore more present in a vegan diet. But there are plenty of vegan foods that do not have fiber in them, or have very low amounts of fiber. And we'll go on to see that he just wasn't eating enough, period, which is a whole other health issue in itself. And like, none of this is veganism's fault. So it's still a problem after he started eating animals. It's still a problem. It doesn't fix anything. And there are treatments for this. There are medications, but he has not talked about ever going to a doctor, ever going to seek help or medication or support or a nutritionist or anything. Anything at all. Like, maybe he's just not saying it, but why wouldn't he say that? Seek professional help. You clearly need it.
If I was giving a talk or a debate, or even if I was attending a lecture or a debate or something like that, or indeed if I was just hanging out with friends in a place that didn't have a toilet access, there was a good chance that I was going to run into quite a bit of trouble. And so what I would do is have a very restricted relationship to food in these instances. It meant essentially not eating, or eating very minimally. And sometimes, we'd be out and people would be getting food, and people would notice that I'm not really eating anything, or not finishing a meal that was in front of me, or being really picky with my food. And a lot of the time I'd have to politely decline to eat various foods because...
How is that? How is it bad? How does that? I don't care. I don't care. I've had to politely decline food ever since I've been vegan, even before that. It's just a general thing people do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make your life any worse. It's a mild inconvenience. How is that in any way an excuse or justification or an explanation even of going back to eating animals and paying for like mass genocide? It's not. It is not. And in my heart or in my brain or anything, I know that he knows that. I know that he knows that. It's just I cannot fathom. I cannot fathom this.
These kind of circumstances, I'd be restricting my eating very greatly. And this is something that I did before I was vegan as well, so I was well adjusted to it, but essentially...
Then what's the fucking problem? How is veganism in any way the cause of this issue, or even an aggravation of this issue, if you can like pick and choose which plants to eat, which plant-based foods to eat? You don't need to eat the ones that trigger the IBS symptoms. You don't need to, like, it's like, what? 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 In what way does eating seafood and other animal products help in this situation? There's such a huge range of foods that you can choose from. What is really the problem? Have you talked to anybody about this? Have you accepted the help that was offered by like professional nutritionists and doctors? Alex doesn't seem to want to be helped. He's not looking for help. He's like, I've made a decision. This is it. Even though at the end he says, like, I don't know if I'll eat like this forever, but what, like, maybe I'll go back or something. Like, there's room in there. Like, there's room for improvement. There's room for returning to veganism. And I do have hope for that. But it's just like, why is he making such a definitive statement about it now? Why is he not asking for help? Why is that not the main thing he's doing? If he still believes in the ideals of veganism and still believes in animal liberation and animal rights thing, I don't want to get into that. But he believes that this whole system should be abolished, right? Why is he not looking for any possible way to not have to contribute to it?
Really eat, or I'd eat very minimally, and I'd eat very safe foods that obviously weren't particularly nutritionally adequate, but would help me to get some calories in, and then hope. This clearly isn't ideal, right?
It's not ideal, and I agree. It does sound like a really annoying situation. I would not appreciate having to live through that, and I've never had to live through that. So I'm sorry to you, Alex, but just because you're eating very little doesn't mean you have to eat animals. I don't know where the logic is. Like, you can eat very little, and like in the times that you eat plant-based. What is the problem?
You can imagine in a situation like the one I've just described, how it can be difficult even to make sure you're getting the right amount of calories, let alone making sure that you're on top of your macro and your micronutrient balance.
How is that veganism's fault? So he's admitting that it's bad even when he's eating animals. It barely makes a difference. I assume, by the way he's talking about it, he has not stated like, oh, I ate fish and it really helped. Nothing like that. No evidence that it is in any way helping his condition, but even so, like, be unhealthy. Fine. Like, it sucks that you have to be through your condition and you have to, like, you don't get the nutrition that you need because of several things, but then be unhealthy while vegan instead of unhealthy while paying for murder. Why? No matter how bad your health issues are, they don't justify the paying for the murder of another being. Can you imagine if I said, like, hey, I have IBS or I have some, like, chronic health issue and I need to eat babies because they're the only thing that make me feel better? No. Look for other solutions. You know what I mean? And there are solutions. But he doesn't seem very eager to look for them, which is what's mostly causing me to be very skeptical about is his intent. Like, I want to believe that he's trying, but it doesn't really seem like he is. And I find that incredibly disappointing, and I know that it could do better.
Because of the fact that it is easier to get the nutrients that are required to be healthy on a non-vegan diet, which, say what you like about it being easy to live healthily as a vegan, which I believe in many cases it can be and is, it is easier to not be one. I found that in practice, despite obviously having a lot invested in this,
Excuse me, sir. It's easier. It's not necessary. It's easier. You are admitting that it's just more convenient. But convenience, as you have stated in the past, is not a good excuse to pay for murder. Why do I have to keep repeating myself? Everyone has already said this. I'm not the first one to say this. You know this. You're smarter than this. What is happening? What are you doing?
And so I ended up experiencing a lot of the typical symptoms that you hear in these kinds of videos. Fatigue, but at the same time as insomnia, I just wasn't sleeping properly. I was experiencing brain fog. I was unable to properly focus. I was feeling physically weak. But I was also experiencing other commonly reported symptoms. I was having, a lot of bloating and a lot of gas, like a lot of gas.
I'm so sorry you're farting a lot, Alex. No, having to fart a lot is definitely a good excuse to pay for murder. No, I'm totally in agreement with you. Like, he must be aware of the way that he sounds right now.
But being essentially unable to eat, I found that if I could stomach anything, I wanted it to be nutritionally dense. I wanted it to be something that was going to give me the best chance of improving my physical health.
And you chose fish? Excuse me, what? I have to read up on IBS more. I do realize I'm not very educated on that, but it seems to me that there's no reason to bring animal products into this. There is no reason to bring that into this.
I must say that I'm not going to be able to give you all of the details of certainly the mental health stuff that I was talking about. I know that people are upset and people are angry, but the amount of vitriol that I've received.
Well, I would like to say, I'm sorry that you're experiencing that. Genuinely, I don't wish mental health issues on anyone. Still, not an excuse, but he should get help in various ways. And I hope that he is getting help. I hope he's seeing a therapist for his mental health issues. I hope he's seeing a doctor. I hope he's seeing like a nutritionist or a gastroenterologist or whatever is necessary. He has the means to do so. He needs support. That is what I most think. Like, he seems very misguided right now. I don't think he knows what he's doing because he himself admitted to not being very educated in nutrition and the practical level of a plant-based diet. So I would say, let's not be angry with him, even though we are angry with him and very disappointed in the least. Let's offer him resources. Let's try to be helpful and lead him down the vegan path again. I think he wants to be vegan, on some level at least, but he doesn't think he can. And we need to show him that he personally is capable of that. I think that is mostly where our efforts should lie right now.
And people making memes and this kind of thing. And as I say, I understand that that's going to happen, but I'm just not going to let people start doing that about my personal medical history. I'm just not going to let people be memeing about that and making YouTube shorts about it.
You think people making YouTube shorts is worse than what you're doing? Because I don't think it is. I mean, people making mean YouTube shorts is rude, but it doesn't cause someone to die. It doesn't cause someone to lose their life unnecessarily. So I would say that's worse.
What I'm trying to get across is that even if in principle it can be healthy and it's perfectly possible to be healthy on a plant-based diet, for various practical reasons, that might be something that's unattainable.
Not unattainable. And he himself admits that it's not unattainable. It's just harder. It's just more difficult. It's less convenient. He's never said it's impossible for him to be vegan. He never said that in this video or in his statement. Never once. It is still possible. It's just hard. Make the effort, Alex. You can do better. You can do better. It's really that simple, and people are willing to help you. People have been offering their help left and right, so take our help.
I should talk about some of the reactions that I've received just from the statement that I put out.
Okay, so let's look at these comments that he is putting in the video. Go fuck yourself, you animal abusing cunt. I mean, technically I would say he is an animal abuser. He's paying to abuse animals, so yes, that is true. But cunt, bit of a strong word. I'm not in favor of insulting people. Wouldn't be a proponent of it because it's not effective. Like, we want him to be vegan again. I think we should be offering help instead of calling him a cunt. I thought so highly of you. I'm disgusted. I hope the soul of every animal you harm comes back to haunt you when you realize the gravity of what you're doing. Shame on you for being superficial, pretentious, cop-out. I agree. I do hope that he is faced with all the animals that he's choosing to harm and choosing to kill right now through a health issue that can be treated, at least, and that is an inconvenience to you, but it's not debilitating and it's not like causing you to lose your life. It's not on the same level as what you're inflicting on these beings. It's not in any way fair.
I saw that vegan teacher said that if we were living in a time where it was still legal, she'd be calling for my public hanging.
This is the worst comment I think I've seen in this whole situation. And I saw this comment when she posted it. I don't know which video it was on, but it was insane. Don't tell people to kill themselves. Don't threaten people with that you're going to kill them or that you would kill them in any sense. I don't think that is acceptable. I don't think it's effective in fostering the behavior change that we're wanting from him. If you see the bigger picture, threatening someone with death or with killing them is not as bad as actually paying to kill them. So that's something.
I've been doing YouTube a long time. Like, I built up a thick skin to this kind of thing. I can deal with mean comments, but I've had a lot of people reaching out to me to check that I'm okay. You know, people seeing the responses and messaging me to be like, man, like, are you doing all right? I mean, this looks horrendous.
You're not the victim in the situation, Alex. Get it through your head. You're not the victim. I don't want to be mean to you. I'm just telling it to you straight. You're not the victim in this situation. And you need to remember that, because once people forget that, that is when veganism just becomes something of little consequence to people. They lose sight of what's really important. And what's really important is protecting animals. Or at least not paying for them to be slaughtered.
The thing that I want people to be careful of here is like, how is this going to look to other people? Like, I still want to encourage people to try veganism. I still want to encourage people to join the movement against animal suffering, against factory farming. But
stop saying animal suffering and factory farming. Animal suffering and factory farming is bad. But it's not the main issue. The main issue is that we don't give animals the right to life when they do deserve one. It's not okay to still kill animals, even if it's done humanely, Alex. It's not okay. Would it be okay to do that to you? You seem so concerned about vegans being too radical and leading other people away from veganism, when what are you doing, Alex? Do you think what you're doing is good for veganism? Do you think it's leading more people to be vegan? Do you think everything you've said in the past month on this topic has been in any way helpful to the vegan movement? Don't you think it might be a little bit, I don't know, detrimental?
imagine somebody's on the fence about becoming a vegan. You know, they're not really sure whether it's going to be for them or not. And then they see what's happened here. Right? They see somebody who says, look, this wasn't working for me for various reasons, and I need to let you know about that. And seeing this kind of response, seeing this kind of this hatred and unforgiving vitriol, what is that person going to think?
What do you think people are going to think when they see you and the excuses that you've made and the absolute lack of empathy that you have towards animals and their situation? The way that you're victimizing yourself in this video, don't you think people might see this and be like, you know, actually, violating animals' rights is not so bad, you know? If it's mildly inconvenient for me, if it makes me go to the bathroom a few extra times a day, you're making it seem like there are no victims involved. Not once have you mentioned the victims of your actions in this video or in the statement you put out. You didn't say, I'm sorry to the animals that I have to eat. If you had to, if there were no other way for you to be healthy or to survive in general, you would be sorry to the animals that you had to kill, at the very least. And before that, you would look for every possible way not to have to be responsible for this atrocity. But you're like, well, it's inconvenient for me, so I guess I have to be responsible for this now, and I don't really care what happens to the animals now. You don't make any sense to me. You are, like, get in touch with your sense of empathy, dude, because you're expecting us all to have empathy for you, and I do feel some empathy for you. I do think health issues suck, mental health issues suck, but it's not comparable in any way to what you're inflicting on others right now. Go to a vigil or something. Go into a slaughterhouse and experience it for yourself. Face the consequences of your actions. See how big a deal it actually is, instead of how you're making it out to be.
Because I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to make some case against veganism, or that I'm trying to just rationalize the problems that I've been having.
You are rationalizing, though. Nowhere in this video does he say it's impossible for him to be vegan. He has only stated that it's more inconvenient for him and it's harder for him. How is that in any way an excuse or a justification? He fucking knows this. What are you talking about?
It's not that I think that you can't get all the nutrients you need from plant-based sources, as some people have assumed, and quite understandably, that I meant. That's not what I meant. I was talking about the practicability of maintaining such a diet.
That's still bullshit. Like, the whole thing about practicability, it just bothers me because it's a very vague term. Just make some fucking effort. Just make some effort. I know it's hard for you, and we can help you. We can support you in that. You don't need to shoulder the burden, I guess, alone. We're here to help you. We want to help you. Fucking let us help you. Let us fucking help you.
Of course, still want to see the end of factory farming, and I hope that vegans don't see me as their enemy on this front. Like, I'm hoping we can still work together in our advocacy here. Thank you for listening.
One thing I noticed is that not once did he mention the whole boycott thing, that he was increasingly doubtful of the appropriateness of individual-based boycotts, I think. Which is basically saying, like, I don't think veganism works. Because, I mean, veganism is mostly based on an individual boycott, as are most social justice movements. Like, you can't expect society to be non-racist if you're just going to be racist because it's more convenient for you. It's not how it works. You need to stand for what you believe in. You need to have principles. This is not how the world works. Fight for what you believe in. Do whatever you can. Try your best. Try your hardest. Make an effort. Like, Alex, come on. So that was the end of the video. And I am very disappointed and actually more angry than I was at the post that he made a month ago. I am glad that he did make a video because I was very doubtful that he would. But it's just a lot more clear to me what the actual issue is here, and the actual issue is that he thinks it's too hard. He is not willing to make a sacrifice for the animals because he doesn't care about them as much as he claimed that he did. But somewhere beneath all these rationalizations and all these excuses that he's made up that don't actually add up, I would say he still wants to be vegan if it's possible for him, or if it's more convenient for him, I guess, because he doesn't, like, it doesn't seem like he wants to make a sacrifice. He doesn't want to make an extra effort. It just seems very unprincipled to me. My main takeaway is that we should be trying to help him, and he should be accepting that help. You know, he should be going out of his way and trying as hard as possible to not have to eat fish or whatever he's eating. We should be offering help. But yeah, those are mostly my thoughts on the video. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you have any additional thoughts or comments or opinions, and I'll respond to them in the comments. And thank you for watching.